Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga-Texas construction update video.
Hey everybody, I'm back here at Giga-Texas after a wonderful weekend over at Tennessee. I got a chance to go to the Chattanooga Charge event and I met a lot of great people. They had a wonderful time, some really good speakers, demonstrations, a lot of vehicles, showing some personalization on the vehicles, and of course the best part was just meeting all of the people from 19 different Tesla owners groups that came out from all over the country to celebrate Tesla, have a great time, and just mingle and talk about the future and all the positive things that are going on in the country and what Tesla is bringing for that future. Now, one of the best things is that they had this light show that was put on by Simon, and he's pretty famous for putting together a lot of the light shows that you see on social media. And this time he had a very special one. We all gathered into this large field. We arranged the vehicles, and once you get a chance to see it from the drone view, you can see it's a large peace sign. And I think that's very appropriate for what's going on right now. And it's just a way for us to kind of celebrate all of the positives that is going on here with Tesla and the Tesla community. I want to say thank you very much to Josh Hazel for putting on this event, also for all the sponsors, Test Bros, and many of the other level 1, 2, and 3 and sponsors, additional sponsors that came out for that event, and just generally just amazing to be able to be a part of that. So I just say thank you very much for the invitation. I enjoyed it. And now we're back here at Giga-Texas. So without further ado, let's take a flight and look around and see all that has changed in just the last few days. And there is a lot to see. So as always, thank you very much for your support. I appreciate it. So let's go flying.
If you would like to support my efforts, please consider using these links, which will be in the video description. If you are interested in Tesla products, you can help yourself and support me by using my referral code. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons on my YouTube video, as this helps as well. Thank you. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga-Texas. Well, it's great to be back at Giga-Texas, so I thought I would start on the south end, looking at the fork in the road, coming up to a higher altitude, and getting an overall view of what it looks like today from the south end, looking all the way across the factory to the north. And there is a lot of different things that I would like to show you today, some of the progress that's happened in just the last few days and over the weekend. But I'm going to fly up over the roof section first. We'll get a closer look at a lower altitude at some of the details, but I wanted to point out that there are about 30,000 or so solar panels on the roof. There will eventually be over 70,000. A lot of people have asked why aren't they finished them up, and that's because of all of the details that you see on the roof that has been part of a lot of changes on the roof that have been underway for the last couple of years. Most of those are coming to an end, so hopefully we'll start seeing more of the solar panels added on. Now, while we're here, I'm looking across to the temporary staging lot for the Cybertrucks next to the superchargers. We do see a lot of them over on this side of the site. Some of them have that blue wrapping around the pillars around either side of the vehicle by the windows. And maybe some of the rest of these are waiting for some retrofits. And again, that's part of a recall on those parts. But also we'll see on the outbound lot that a lot of the Cybertrucks are gone, so they have been transported off-site. While we're over here, I'm going to continue to fly. Looking at that parking garage, don't see any activity on the roof with the LiDAR-equipped vehicles that have been testing, but we do still see the privacy fencing and the privacy curtains on the 6th floor and the ground floor on this side of the building. So there's a lot of activity going on inside. I'm not sure exactly what that is, but I think it may be related to what's coming up in the next few months here in Austin. And just very recently, Elon Musk reiterated again that in June they will be launching the robotaxi fleet, and unsupervised FSD will be coming to Austin and then rolling out to many other cities throughout the year. And I think this is what's playing a role with that. While we are flying a little lower on the south end, passing over the WW Glass Company equipment and some of their trailers, that is the company that's installing all the glass on the factory. And speaking of which, as we get closer here towards the cooling panels and the cooling tower and the fans, I'm going to look up over those and show you what the situation is with the glass. There's still several sections that don't have the glass installed. I think that's because they want to move equipment in. And on the ground floor, we can see where the drive path is that goes all the way through and exits on the other side of the building. Also, while I'm here, staying on Zoom, show you the crates that have been unloaded with the glass waiting on the bottom left for recycling. And this large structure with the plastic on it, I've been kind of informed by several viewers that they think that that's not a delivery, it's more of a workshop. And if that is the case, then maybe they're doing a lot of assembly inside that building. I'm not really sure. As we continue to keep on Zoom, flying along the east side to the north, wanted to take a quick look at this temporary platform just to see if there was any building materials being moved up in there. I don't see that right now, but we have seen a lot of steel beams, possibly columns going in through that section, which suggests that they're building out another mezzanine floor, and could be related also to some of the preparations for the robotaxi production line, which is coming very soon. I'm going to come back up to the roof at a lower altitude, just show you these deliveries. I believe that these are solar panels that are waiting on the ground on the roof, but I've also had some viewers say that that's not the case, so I'll just continue to monitor that. All of these ventilation systems that we're passing over, and this one here for a data center cooling system. This is more for a server room, not really the supercomputer cluster, but all of this has been added over the last couple of years, which is some of the rework or fixes or basically changes on the roof that have prevented the solar panels from being installed. Coming back towards the cooling plant, again, those crates waiting for recycling. This is what the cooling plant looks like with 3 of the fan units operational. And then here around the old parapet wall, kind of going diagonally through this part of the roof, we'll see the cables that come along the trays from the north end all the way here to the south and then power the data center. Looks like there are workers getting ready to do some additional installation or maybe connections or perhaps just testing of all of these black cables that you see running along these cable trays and then down into the roof here. While I'm at this altitude, I did want to pass over some of those solar panels that had been stacked up waiting for installation, coming over to the Unirack mounts on the ground. And this is what this section looks like. There's some kind of inverters and also more racks put in this pile. And then on the ground here, I think are some more solar panels, perhaps, or bricks, or maybe a combination of both. And if you have some more thoughts on that, let me know in the comment section. I'd appreciate that. As I fly over the building, I'm going to bring the drone back down, show you that at this temporary platform where we've seen a lot of equipment being delivered today, there are 2 plate type heat exchangers, those red, silver, and black items on the ground here. And those are very similar to what we've seen installed in the south end as part of the cooling system for the data center. So it looks like more are being delivered today. This section with the window line is prepared and ready for the final attachment points to be added so they can put the glass in, but they still have not done that yet. And it looks like they are starting to paint part of the white wall black to match this other one by those porta potties. And I expect that to be done because then it will blend in the entire window line. So I'm going to fly back to the south momentarily at a lower altitude along this berm. As a reminder, all of this used to have trees that was all removed so that they could build in these caissons. This is one of them. It looks like there's a fence around it now. There's some additional work being done nearby with that truck, and they've been doing some trenching with that, and I think they're continuing to work underneath the road to the south where you see the orange fencing and the dividers, and also one of these excavators and some of the steel corrugated pipes. So I think that's all potentially related to that caisson, but it'll be something that I'll just continue to monitor as we go along. There's looks like there's an excavation underway where that orange fence and the two gentleman with the survey equipment is located. So while I am here, I'm going to bring the drone up, fly over the power lines, and let's go take a look at one of the caissons under construction on the south end of the river. So we've crossed over the highway. I'll bring the drone back down. We'll take a look at some of the forms. The crane getting ready to put a bucket down into this caisson where there is an excavator underway. They clear out all of the dirt. Once it's sunk down in, they prepare it to sink again. They'll put another ring. We can see all the rebar on the top shows that they are expecting another ring, and then it will continue to sink down. And that bucket helps bring all of that dirt up from that caisson for movement away from the site. So we're going to fly back to the north over the Colorado River, and we're going to see where the tunnel boring machine in this caisson is at work, and eventually will connect to the caisson we just left on the south bank of the river. Now we do see these pipe segments. All of this is what is being used to line the bore that is being made by the small tunnel boring machine. They take those segments, they move them in with the crane down to the bottom, and then they have hydraulic pistons that push those segments into the bore as the tunnel boring machine continues its operation. This is a great view of a new pipe segment that has been added, and the pistons are getting ready to start pushing this in to the bore on the left-hand side of the screen. And based on the number of concrete segments that we see for the pipe, they have a long way to go. So I don't even know if the boring machine has made it to the Colorado River yet from this position. But I'll pull away and give you an overall view of the operations here. Some of the equipment for the tunnel boring machine. Some of it is the spoils bin that they take that dirt out of the tunnel as it's being dug. And then they prepare to move that over to the far west side. I did notice that there was a lot of Model Ys and Cybertrucks driving along this road over to the end of line facility while I was flying. I captured some of that, and we'll see that later in the video. At this point in time, just not a lot of activity at the moment on this road. I did notice as I bring the drone back up that almost all of the Cybertrucks that were staged here on last Wednesday have been moved away over the weekend and the last part of the week. And that just shows that they are moving them, and despite the recall and the work on those trim pieces along the windows. Also noticeable that many of the Model Ys that were all staked up here in this outbound lot last week have all been moved off-site, hopefully to customers, and they're getting ready for a new batch to begin with production today after the weekend. Finally, on the north end, where we saw many of those Cybertrucks and a full lot the last time I flew with Model Ys, of course, all of those have been moved away. And I think that some of those Cybertrucks are being moved from that east lot to this lot, as we can see that there are some with the blue plastic on those trim pieces on this upper right-hand side of the screen. I also see a new Model Y doing the test track with those figure 8s. And while I'm here, I did notice that there is a large line of newly built Cybertrucks and Model Ys that have driven over from the other side of the highway. They're positioned here in stage to move through the end-of-line facility for that final processing. So I thought I'd bring the drone down, show you those vans that are bringing the drivers back over to the other side. They're still supervising the autonomous driving of the vehicles, so they still have drivers in each of these, although the vehicles are driving themselves. And I have not heard any updates as far as when they plan to remove the need for the drivers, but that is the situation right now. I'm going to fly to the south along the east side of the end-of-line facility, just show you what the tents for the superchargers looks like today. As a reminder, this is early Monday after a weekend, so production is just gearing back up. So by the time I was departing the site, all of these were full, and we were seeing many of these kind of staging lines on the center of the screen on the east side of the end of line were full of vehicles. So I'm going to get ready to cross over the highway, and we'll resume on the other side. I really enjoy the views of the flags flying in the wind. I like the landscaping they did at the base of the flags, and of course they still have the orange original Roadster here. They've turned it so it's facing into that stone glass trapezoid, and it makes it much more scenic than the way that they had before. But I'm going to fly all the way around the flag poles, coming down to a lower altitude to show you what this section looks like from here. They have that cased Model Y that's used to show and display around the country, and it looks like it's still waiting to be used or moved to another location. As we pass by, this is what that orange Roadster looks like underneath the beams and columns here on the entrance. I got some really nice still images of that I posted up on X and also Patreon if you would like to see those, the still images. Now, a lot of the Model Ys had already just been driven over to the other side. Earlier when I flew by where that exit point was, they were just packed with Model Y, so it just shows that that production rate is coming up pretty well, and then just the pace of moving over to the other side is about once every 5 minutes or so. This is a close-in view of the new entranceway, the landscaping, the planters, and these covered white sections where people would be waiting for the transport buses. As we pass over the recycling center for the cans of the 4680, don't really see a lot of activity on that section right now. So instead, I'm going to bring the drone back up, take a look at the work on the roof where they've been doing some seam repair and other modifications to the roof in this section. Most of the bricks that were holding this down have been removed. It looks like there's some additional equipment for that work on the north end. And then here where the ventilation system is, right above the 4680 cell portion of the factory and what it looks like. So I'm going to cross back over the highway and let's take a look at where the Welcome Center is being constructed. Comparing from my previous video last Wednesday to this video, not even a week later, we see a lot more of the trees have been removed. This section in the middle of the screen has been prepared for grade work, and they've continued to bring in more dirt. So most likely raise up this grade to make it a very flat surface for construction at some point in the near future. And this is a great view of some of the work that's being done, plus the kind of the steamroller, but in this case it's got those projections on that roller that's used to help compact down the soil as they bring it in. They're doing some additional trench work up on the top level, and they may be lowering the grade slightly in that location and helping to raise the grade on the right hand side of the screen. It's really hard to tell for sure right now, but here's a really close view of this work, and you can tell that they are taking some of the dirt, loading it on the trucks, and they're repositioning it over into the depression. And while they're doing that, the overall grade here is starting to lower. And I suspect they're going to have to bring in a lot of fill dirt. They just so happen to have plenty of that here at Giga-Texas. But as I maneuver around one more time, this is a nice higher altitude view of this section, how it is looking. And we can see that there's a dirt road trailing off farther towards the distance in that tree-lined section. So we should probably see all of this area getting graded very soon. While I fly up towards the north, I wanted to go over the terminal for the natural gas, and that's what it looks like right now. They've been seeding in some of the berm on the right, and last video we saw them doing some watering here. It looks almost like a road on the right-hand side of the screen. As we cross back over the highway, looking back where we came from, it's a nice view back towards the main factory over the Megapack site. All of the power lines, of course, the electrical switch yard on the left-hand side of the screen, and the new Megapack site is visible as well. I did want to quickly bring the drone down, show you the operations here at the concrete batch plant. Looks like it is in full production now with a lot of the materials for that concrete mixing, the lined pond and the truck washouts on those kind of linear green watered sections. And as we stay at this altitude, I'll fly back towards the switch yard. I'm going to kind of pan to the left slightly, just as a reminder, directly ahead of the drone, just to the left of the switch yard. All of this is going to be developed, and they're going to add in kind of a mirror image of that switch yard, so doubling its overall capacity. Before they can do that, they had to reclaim this large depression. It used to be tree-lined with ponds, and now, as you can tell, they are slowly raising the grade all the way back up to make this flat and also ensure that the ground is suitable for that construction. Here's a good view here of how they are also taking some dirt from this section, lowering the grade on this area, and then using that to raise the grade on the right-hand side of the screen. Another development today on the north side of the new Megapacks. It looks like the crane is lifting some of these steel items onto those 4 slabs. This is forming a base for electrical equipment that will be installed on this part of the site. And then as I pan back to the south, and see what the transformers look like, the beams on the ground for the Megapacks, the cable trays down the middle of the transformers, and it just looks like they are getting really close in preparation to the point where they'll be able to start bringing Megapacks in, some of that electronic equipment on that north end, onto those steel beams. Here's a nice view of the parking lot this early morning as it's filling up with workers coming in. And also, as I continue to pan back, we can see this large construction site, the Central Campus Support Facility, or Cortex 2. And there are some big changes. The first of which is this temporary structure with the plastic walls. They have receiving doors on the south and north end. And I think that this is most likely going to be a workshop for the crews building this structure. And I'll just maneuver around so you can get a nice view of not only what it looks like, but also the size of it. We can see these receiving doors coming into view. Those are easily big enough for trucks to drive through. And so again, I think this is going to be like a temporary workshop for the people constructing this new facility. And speaking of which, as I turn back towards the facility with the construction on the footings, this is a good view of how it is shaping up. The most important thing to point out is that instead of having 2 foundations for 2 different buildings, it looks like it's all being merged together. So it's most likely going to be one large building. This looks like it's going to be the footing for the edge or the corner of the building that they are constructing right now. And of course, they have already been assembling the rebar cages for this structure. They're continuing to do so here on the right-hand side of the site. And this is just going to be continuing for quite some time as they try to keep ahead of all of the footings that are being excavated. But the size of the workers gives you a good view of what it looks like. And some of the footings, the rebar cages for the footings look like they're being fashioned in for perhaps a perimeter grade beam. They're much longer, narrower, and rectangular in shape. And that would form the exterior wall bases for this structure. So I'm going to follow this bobcat back towards the footings. I'm going to show you what it looks like with some of the ones on the north end with the forms and the frameworks. They also have some of the column mounts being put in with the rebar onto the cages that have been put into those excavations. And very soon we're going to see the pump trucks come out here to fill these up with concrete, and then they'll continue to work towards the north. While I'm here also, I'll give you a nice view of some of the cages next to the workers and the footing excavations, just so you can get a nice sense of scale. Dropping down here on the north end, we can see that the augers are busy making more of these holes or piles or piers into the ground. And we see the impactor busy on this one on the center left of the screen. And they're just compacting in some of the gravel into those drilled or augered piles. And that's making the support structures for the construction of the building. And they've done these in kind of groups of about 8, and that makes for the squares for the footings, but they've been also putting in more around the perimeter, and that's what it looks like they're working now, and that would be for the perimeter grade beam or the bases of the walls for the structure. So that work is coming along, and it's nice to see how they sequence between making the piles, doing the excavations, putting in the rebar cages, and then filling them with concrete. So looks pretty like a good and efficient operation to me. More of the augers here on this side of the building, busy next to the area where the battery cathode plant and the die shop are located. We do see some more equipment on the north side of the die shop on the right hand side of the screen. Of course, the work with the chiller plant, we don't see any frost in the vaporizers, but we do see water trailing off on the ground. So there is some level of operation. As I bring the drone back up to a higher altitude, I did want to show you that work is being done to, at the very least, reconfigure this part of the roof membrane. You can see it has been cut, pulled away, kind of flipped back onto its top on this gray side. And you can tell all of the glue that was holding it down. So they're either fixing or repairing it, or they are preparing the roof for some additional equipment to be added on, perhaps some more ventilation systems or maybe heating ventilation systems. So another thing that's just to continue to watch. A nice view here of the north end of the cathode plant, the east side with the crash test facility and the cell test lab on the bottom of the screen. And I'm going to just continue to pirouette to the north, show you what this clearing looks like, some of the materials. We also see the large clearings in the upper part of the screen, and that is the area where there will be a test track at some point in the near future constructed. That is one of the things that Giga-Texas really does need, and they have not had the chance to build that yet. As I bring the drone back down to a lower altitude, we'll fly to the south along the east side, over the Wade Pit and towards the crash test facility, where once again they have been busy with many of the vehicles as they do crash testing almost year-round and every day, and that's part of their process to make sure that the vehicles are not only safe, but they can do additional testing and change some of the designs to improve that safety, and that's sort of that iterative approach that Tesla uses. Here on the south side of the die shop, we see more of the work here with the underground stormwater management system. They're doing some trenching. They have trench boxes. They have those beams with straps holding up some of the underground piping while they're putting that in. And this is a great shot of how that looks today. So to bring the drone up to a higher altitude and the video to a conclusion, wanted to give you a bird's eye view of that construction site next to the die shop, over towards where the electrical switch yard will be expanded. And you can tell that earthwork that is underway that we saw at a lower altitude, the mega packs and the work that's going on there, of course the main factory, and far on the top of the screen is that west support facility, the end of line, and the outbound lot. So as always, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate that, and I hope you have a great rest of the week. Take care.